This is Fraser Coast Stories with George Seymour, and Hervey Bay is known as the whale watching capital of the world. And I'm here today with Isabel Taylor, the senior naturalist at Pacific Whale Foundation. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, George. A pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good. And how long have you been a marine biologist?
I sort of went back to university as a mature student. I have been a scuba instructor prior to that for about a decade. Did a lot of scuba diving off the Great Barrier Reef and off WA's coastline, and decided that I wanted to put that into a conservation space more meaningfully. I went back to university and completed an honours degree in ecology at the University of Sunshine Coast. Specialising in cetaceans in that honours thesis, which I'll talk more later.
Excellent. And that led you to working with Pacific Whale Foundation? Absolutely.
Played a massive role, and I was sort of in the right place at the right time. Pacific Whale Foundation in Australia has two departments, one being the ecotourism side, that is existing only to generate funding for our research and education community outreach programs. We are a non-for-profit, so anything we do make feeds directly into those activities. There is another department that is a subsidiary of Pacific Whale Foundation in Maui, Hawaii. That's the parent company that funds those more formal research using commercial drones, things like that. So I was sort of in the right place at the right time in that I was able to volunteer for the research department from 2022 to the present day. But subsequently that led to me becoming a naturalist in 2023, and now I've done 3 seasons for them.
And what type of research are you doing in Hervey Bay now?
So for the last, it was established in 2022, and from 2021 to 2025 we collected 134 dedicated research surveys, of which now in 2026 there has been a pause due to the lack of funding due to the devastating fires in Maui, Hawaii. So we are relying specifically on their funding to continue those formal research out on the field. Nonetheless, we are doing now, well, the focus is the analysis and publication of those surveys that we have done from 21 to 25, and I'll talk more about that if you want.
So that's the behaviour of the whales, the migration.
So we'll take a step back. Pacific Whale Foundation in Maui was established in 1980 as an international enterprise, non-for-profit. It has research institutes in Ecuador, Chile, Maui, and obviously in Australia. We started doing some photo ID work in 1984 to the present day, so that's a lot the longitudinal data that we have.
And that's the tail, is it?
Yeah,
like
so
it's the fingerprint.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the ventral surfaces, the white surface, or the undersides, I should say, are what we want, and we look at those trailing edges to help us identify individuals and contribute to abundance estimates. And that's been the bulk of our research. In the early 90s, we helped establish and write the whale watch guidelines for Hervey Bay. So a lot of those rules are written by us. That includes the minimum no approach distance for both recreational and commercial vessels, as well as drone altitude, and also the banning of swimming with mothers and calves in Hervey Bay.
And what's the future research? What specifically are you looking at?
So in recent years, as I said, from 21 to 25, when we had a formal research team out on the water during whale season, we've looked at the 5 major threats that face our cetaceans, and those are fisheries interactions, so entanglements, in ghost fishing gear or shark control programs are a big issue for East Coast, as well as vessel strike, tourism pressure. So we did a swim with study between 2018 and 2020. I was actually a guinea pig in the water for that, and that essentially looked at the behaviour both before, during and after we put swimmers in the water, and then compared that to just regular whale watching. We found that the whales were engaging in 50% less resting behaviour. So now, as an organisation, we do not advocate for swimming with whales in Hervey Bay. It is actually illegal in Maui, for example. But it is legal here, and we do have a permit to continue, but we've just decided, based on that study, not to continue doing that. But again, it is illegal to swim with moms and calves in Hervey Bay.
And the whales that we have here, they're on a migration?
Absolutely. So the whales that we see here are thought to be belonging to the breeding stock E1, recognised by International Whaling Commission. So they are the East Australian humpback whale population, and we sort of know that based on their fidelity or loyalty to their breeding areas. However, photo ID, which Pacific Whale Foundation has also documented, has shown that there is interchange between West Australia and East Australia, and also within the South Pacific there's multiple subpopulations that go through to New Caledonia, Tonga, French Polynesia, Niue, and the Cook Islands that also may interchange. And a really exciting publication that came out just a month ago or two was that a Hervey Bay whale was also, that was photographed by Citizen Science, was found to have been in Brazil, and then it was bi-directional. So a Brazilian whale was also found in Hervey Bay.
That's interesting, So the whales that come up the eastern seaboard of Australia and up past us and then give birth and then go back down, when they're back in the Southern Ocean, near Antarctica, do they intermingle with whales that then go up the western coast and South America?
That's a theory. I mean, that is the only theory, and that is possibly what has happened with that Brazilian interchange as well. So it's in that Antarctic environment that they perhaps swam horizontally as opposed to going directly from Hervey Bay to Brazil. So if you look at a map of Antarctica, it's a huge continent at the edge of the Earth, and it's more plausible that it's gone round Antarctica and then decided to go up a different continent, i.e. Africa, Australia, or South America.
And these, the whales that we get in Hervey Bay, they're humpback. Well, we get a lot of whales. We know about the humpback whales. I mean, we must have. I mean, I saw a minke whale. It beached itself, and we managed to get back in the water. We must get killer whales. But we just don't. We don't see a lot of the other wildlife because they don't come up like humpback whales do.
Yeah, that's a really cool question. So with those killer whales, there has been one confirmed sighting. I think it was in 2016.
And what's a false killer whale? Because that's what I've heard of too.
A false killer whale is belonging to the toothed whale family. That they're odontocete, and we may get them, but again, very elusive, and probably in the sort of spring months, sort of April time. Outside of humpback whale season, we have confirmed sightings. Orcas, it's not normal for them to be here. It's far too warm. So that's one of the primary drivers for these whales in Antarctica leaving, is to give birth in waters that are warm enough and to evade orca, because orca are the #1 predator.
Yeah, they're what they're fearing. Orcas.
For the calves in that first year of life, orcas are going to be the biggest threat.
So they come to Hervey Bay.
But we definitely do have other species. Every 3 to 5 years we'll get southern right whale in the bay, at least one sighting.
I read once that they were called the right whale. They were named that by the whalers because they were just the right size to harpoon and bring in.
History. Even with the name humpback, the way that they arch their back as they take a dive, that was to harpoon as well. That was a colloquial name.
And in the 1970s, the humpback whale population got down to hundreds.
It was the early 60s. They were thought to have been 250 that survived the commercial whaling era.
And from that, after international action from the International Whaling Federation and moratoriums, and a lot of it happened, I think, because it was no longer commercially viable. Like Australia sort of stopped because it wasn't worthwhile in the end. More to do than environmental reasons, but it's bounced back now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are placed here in Australia, whether you're on the west or the east coast, in a very unique position, because we can now say that those populations are confirmed recovered. So by 1986, there was a global moratorium, thankfully, but in Australia, on the east coast at least, the cessation was in the early 60s of commercial whaling.
Yeah, it was one. I think it was Byron Bay, Moreton Island had one, Tangalooma.
Norfolk Island as well.
Norfolk Island,
Yeah, really, really quite dark history, coinciding with the colonial history as well. But yeah, I think there were over 2 million whales killed last century. But going back to those photo ID, it's those photographs that have helped us estimate abundance. So using multiple collaborative efforts with multiple research institutes as well as citizen science, we're now able to use those photographs and lots of statistical modelling, and they take a decade at least to make. The last official one was in 2015. That put the population at 24,500. from just 250.
Yeah.
So that's an annual increase of 11%.
Yeah, that's big.
It is very good, but those numbers can't be used to project necessarily. But nonetheless, recent analysis that isn't published but is out there suggests that there are now 50,000 humpback whales that migrate along our east coastline every year, and it's one of the most remarkable conservation success stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
David Attenborough has done lots on it.
International action, And is it similar bounce back in the northern hemisphere? Because they're distinct populations, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Humpback whales in the northern hemisphere don't interact with southern.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
They actually never meet, and they are considered a subspecies.
Yeah, they'd have to be by now. They'll be a different species.
Even when I was in Maui in February, the skin coloration is more of a blue whale, like sort of a grey blue, and down here we've got that much darker and white contrast going on. But that they are doing well, at least for the North Pacific populations. They're doing well, but not as well as the Southern Hemisphere. Grey whales, for example, are doing really not too good. There's a lot of concern for grey whales in the Northern Hemisphere because these whales feed at the poles in summer months and breed at the equator in winter months. They're never going to meet. However, there was one publication recently that saw I think it was a northern right whale that had crossed the equator and come to Brazil. So it's not impossible, but it's very unlikely. They are considered subspecies.
That is fascinating. And so what other types of research have you done? Did you look at turtles, dugongs, dolphins?
No, so we are specifically cetaceans, so that's your whales, dolphins and porpoises. In recent years, we have used drone technology, and that's to look at the health assessment of both whales and dolphins. And a lot of those data, especially now, we're focusing on publishing those, are going to be provided to DETSI. If you can provide that acronym, the Department of Environment, Technology, Science and Innovation, that is going to help specifically for dolphins with the next rezoning review for the Great Sandy Marine Park. So what we did with the dolphins was look at their distribution, what kind of their habitat use throughout the bay for each species, namely the Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphin and the vulnerable Australian humpback dolphin, which was only described as a separate species in 2014. We found that they are hanging closer to coastal regions for the Australian humpback dolphins at least, whereas the Indo-Pacific were much more generic in their use of the bay. That's the preliminary results. I won't talk to implications, but it does mean that they're coming into interacting with humans much more than their counterparts, their Indo-Pacific counterparts. And we've also been doing photo ID, so we need to use those. And for a dolphin, that is their dorsal fin, so the left or right side, to look at how many we have and track individuals, their life history. Same with the flukes for the humpbacks. So that's our dolphin work. We've flown drones over them to look at scarring from anthropogenic causes that you don't necessarily see from a vessel perspective. So entanglement, shark bites, a vessel strike, things like that. And the same is transferred to the humpback whales. So we have more data. I think it's 893 images of humpback whales for body condition. And what is body condition? Well, it's just a fancy way of saying how much energy reserves or body fat does this individual have. We can do that to the pixel level using drones. So the altitude of the drone and then measure the length and width in 5% increments, create and estimate body volume or mass. And then we can compare individuals both within a season, across seasons, and even across years and across populations. So that's the main thing that's happening right now, and that's in collaboration with Griffith University, and the lead author is PhD candidate Stephanie Sack.
And the whales, when they're coming up here, they're coming up to give birth. They're not coming up to feed. The krill are all south, right? No, there is some krill off Narooma in Eden, and PWF has documented superpods of 50 or 100 humpback whales having a bit of a snack. There is krill off there, but yes, absolutely no krill in Hervey Bay. They're not feeding. It's not to say that we can outrule that, but
if it was, it would be a different species. It would be just a snack on something, so small fish. But yeah, it's not a feeding or a breeding area. Again, that's not to say it's not impossible, could happen. But yeah, the main breeding areas and birthing areas happen in the same place, which in Maui, for example, that is a great example of both a birthing and a breeding area. In Hervey Bay, it's a migratory stopover. It's a unique place where they stop, rest, socialise, play, and if they're a new mum, provide maternal care, and offers a place for her to shelter and rest.
And so are they giving birth like off of cans or?
It's always thought, look, this hasn't been witnessed, it hasn't been documented, and it's presumed that it's off the Whitsundays or even off the Southern Great Barrier Reef, like Lady Elliot or somewhere like this. But we are seeing, if you have an iPhone or you're on Instagram, you'll see that there are a lot of births being documented further down our coastline, off Byron Bay, off New South Wales coastline, and even as far down as Tasmania, we've seen a birth. So that could have implications, but that's not something we're actively studying at the moment. It could just be that because the population has bounced back in such great numbers that we are seeing more outliers. Or it could be that we're seeing changes to habitat use, which is hypothesised by somebody in WA, because they're seeing births occur lower down on that side too, that the water is warm enough for them to go into labour down south.
Fascinating, And in terms of whale watching, do you think that is good for raising awareness about the natural world, about whales in particular?
So again, we have two departments. I'm speaking about the research from the research department. But on the flip side, I'm the naturalist as well on our Pack Whale eco-adventure tours. And the whole reason we exist, the whole mission and premise behind what we do is to spread awareness, to inspire ocean advocacy through education and science. So yeah, that's 100% what we stand for. So people can go away from a Pacific Whale Foundation whale watching, knowing more, having spoken to naturalists and seeing whales up close. Absolutely, and it's the best part of my job.
Do you remember the first time you went whale watching?
My first whale watching was in Northern Hemisphere because I'm from England, but that was in Reykjavik in Iceland. I saw a couple of minke whales, and I think I was sort of 18 at that time. But my first experience with Hervey Bay humpbacks was in 2017, and I burst into tears. It is a fantastic. I always recommend it. I go lots of times. I've been going over the years, and I always recommend it. And thanks for what you're doing for helping people to understand the whales more in the natural environment. Oh no, absolutely. And if people do wish to know more about our work, I personally have just published a work with in collaboration with Pacific Whale Foundation that use those drone data to look at whether we can quantify barnacles and parasites on our humpback whales, and we found that drones were equally as good as vessel-based photographs, if not better, because it provides that standardized bird's eye view and provided more observations because not all whales raise their tails and so on. If people want to learn more, they can hop onto pacificwhale.org/research or pacificwhale.org/research/publications, and all our historic publications are available there for people to have a read if they're interested.
Excellent. Thanks, Isabel.
No worries. Thank you, George.